Outer Rim News with Austin Gordy, Ray Snedeker, and Ashley Wilbanks.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Hey folks, welcome to a brand new episode of the Outer Rim News Show. Sorry for the little flub up at the beginning there. You know, it's been 2 weeks. Don't blame it on me. I picked the wrong intro for like 2 seconds. So sorry about that, but welcome to a brand new episode of the show. I'm Ashley Wilbanks. With me, as always, Ray Snedeker and Austin Gordy. Hey! 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 Oh! I have to click and add you to the stream.
Yeah, because I'm in no shape to do this because I'm
He is sauced. Soused.
Nah. So it's been 2 weeks. You weren't able to join us last week
Sure
for
wasn't.
Toy Life.
No, I sure wasn't.
But you are able to join us for Star Wars.
No, I can't. That's what I was gonna tell you. I can't do that tonight. So see you guys later.
So you're going clubbing? Okay.
In the broadcast. No,
You're going clubbing.
Going clubbing.
I'm going clubbing with my kids. Does that sound good? My underage kids.
Like Tinder clubbing, I guess.
Okay.
They go to a club and then
we're on a watch list now.
Yeah, we probably are.
You think that's a thing though? Is that a Tinder, like they do Tinder clubs where people just like go into a club and hang out and just get on Tinder? That's it. They just get on Tinder and just like take care of Tinder business, but club.
Really? I don't even know what Tinder is. I've heard it.
It's like dating
app or something.
Yeah, it's a dating app. It's so like kids don't have to actually establish real human contact with people. That's why the form ghosting was invented, because
it's basically Tinder's for just like they're having fun. But if you want the real stuff, apparently you go to Christian Mingle or FarmersOnly.com.
No, really,
Farmers Only, where we brewer, or I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was trying to think because there's not only that, there was like Farmers Only. Yeah.
There's JDate for Jewish folk who want to date with other for Jewish folk. Oh God, there's too many dating sites for everybody.
What was the old one? What was the original? Wasn't it like Adult Friend Finder or something like that?
eHarmony.
They were finding
eHarmony. eHarmony is the romance when they're trying to really pair you up by.
But the Adult Friend Finder was like the real raunchy one, right? And they were busting like all these people on there that had accounts or something.
See, I'm loving this conversation. We don't even need to do Star Wars. We can just talk about.
Think about it. If Leia. Think about what if Leia and like Han and Luke and all them? What if they did like online dating? You think Luke? I still think Leia would be Han would be with Han because Han is obviously the bad boy.
Well, what's the name of the internet?
But Han wouldn't have a dating app, huh?
What's the term? What's the analog?
It's
for the internet for Star Wars. Star Wars universe.
The hypernet, just like the net.
Hypernet.
Or something like that.
It's not the hypernet, is it?
What was it? I thought that's what they. Or hold on.
HoloNet.
How about HoloNet? Thank you, Ned. Thank you, HoloNet. Why was I saying hypernet?
You think? I'm sure there were probably dating sites on the HoloNet.
There probably were. Run by Jabba.
Oh, for sure.
Run by Jabba and what's his little nephew or something?
Nar Shaddaa. And so Nar Shaddaa is just like, they run the one on Nar Shaddaa. So if you're meeting up on Nar Shaddaa, it's because of his dating app. If
you're on Coruscant, it this is what's that Hurt's name?
You're talking about not Zorba. You're talking about
Zero? Is it Zero?
Yeah, Zero the Hutt.
Yeah, Zero the Hutt. Yeah,
it's like Truman Capote.
Yeah, like Capote.
Oh my God! Don't stop doing that.
No.
My mind has just exploded hearing you do something that sounds like that. It's like Truman Capote, and I'm just like,
no, Ashley, I'm saying you've got one ingredient missing. I was going to say you had one ingredient missing, and then you've got it nailed. Yeah. Just pinch your cheek, because he was jowly. So if you do the chink pitch, it's like it'll like at least just one cheek and then just do the exact same thing you did. Then I bet you he's spot on. I bet try it.
Well, hold on. I got to hear him talk again. I can't remember exactly.
No, do exactly what you did. No, you were perfect. No, you were perfect. All you do is just pinch a cheek and do it.
Yeah, it's just like this.
Like, no, take him away.
Yeah,
like
that's
I think he is
exactly how he sounds.
I think he is
He's
based. I
jowly.
think his voice is based on Truman Capote.
Oh
Right.
yeah, totally.
I mean,
Truman
him
Capote
and,
was like that.
yeah. I mean, even like kind of David Sedaris too. David Sedaris has a voice very similar to Capote's. If you ever listen to him narrate
Probably.
stuff,
Well, yeah, well, he's Southern, because they're him and Amy. Him and Amy, they probably got like similar tones. They both have Southern voices.
I could just sit and listen to David Sedaris talk about horrible stuff, but his voice is so soothing about it. I could listen to it for hours.
It's like him and his sister both. Him and his sister both have voices I can listen to all day for different reasons. Like his is like soothing and like intellectual, and warm. But hers is comedic, totally comedic. I mean, you know who I'm talking about, Ray, right? David Sedaris, Amy Sedaris. I just wanted to make sure you were catching on to what I'm talking about here.
Amy Sedaris is the chicken. The lady in The Mandalorian, right?
The mechanic lady.
Yeah,
she's awesome.
She's awesome. But no, speaking about
the young lady playing the old lady in what was it, Strangers with Candy? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. But I was gonna say this was branching off from our talking about the internet or whatever in Star Wars. Obviously, and what do you think about this? I can't remember if I brought it up on a previous episode, but one of the recent covers of Dr. Aphra, basically they have shown that in Star Wars they know how to take selfies, and I'm not sure I'm cool with that.
I don't mind it.
I don't like it.
You don't like
it's too when things become too on the nose to certain society. It's so lame to me. It's like it becomes like easy, and it's like somebody very young did that, and I'm like, even me if I did that and then got older and went like, whoa, that's so dated. Like,
is it a variant cover or is it
the cover? I can show it to you, or I can share it to you, but it really made me think about it, because I'm just like, should they? And I'm not saying they're taking a literal selfie, but they're taking selfies, and it's just kind of just. Let me just.
I'm super opposed to real world stuff in Star Wars.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like it words
doesn't feel right. It's like
even when you use real word. Like
I'll be devil's advocate here. Oh God, I'm not drunk. I promise.
Are you sure?
No. Okay, so devil's advocate, but so much of Star Wars has very, very close analogs in real life. I mean, a lot of the officers in the Empire, a lot of their uniforms are based very, very closely off, Nazi uniforms. Very closely.
But are they called Nazis in the that's what I'm saying.
I know. But we don't have any evidence that they call a selfie in Star Wars, do they? Because it's just a picture of it.
Well, right. Well, no. What you'll see is what I'm talking about. It's just the fact that in Star Wars, you don't. It's just like certain poses is the way I guess this is me nitpicking, and I can't find the cover yet. I'm trying to remember what issue we're on, but I'm just saying in terms of
is Aphra still
when you start to become very
Is Aphra still going? The comic?
Still it's still going.
Okay. I thought I'd heard a while back. Okay. I don't know why I thought that.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to see. I think it may already be put up. Let me see if I have it. I think I've already.
You actually have the comic.
I mean, I have the comic. Here we go. Yeah. So here we go. We've got this cover, and it's a cute cover.
I'm trying to. I was trying to get you. Look at me. I'm screwing up. I was trying to get him.
So
you're not the cover, Ashley.
Yes.
We need a new producer.
We all know you want to be the cover.
There we go.
Cover.
But no, what I'm like, I love the cover. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a great cover. But what I would look at here, and I would go, okay, this is way too. See, look, two different selfie poses here into what we assume could be a selfie picture. Clink. Yeah. and something is too off about that picture. And this would be something I would flag if I was an editor. I'd be like, guys, as cute and great as this picture is, to me, so many elements of Star Wars are missing and gone.
It's not. I don't think it's something a Marvel editor would flag. I think it's something a Marvel editor would encourage, but I definitely think it's something Lucasfilm should flag because
that's the only thing I would just redo this cover, keep the same characters and redo it. This is it's too on the nose as being sort of like we're totally trying to say we're taking selfies here and like selfie, and it just starts to get kind of like, come on, guys, you know. I don't even see them flashing peace signs and going like peace in Star Wars at all, like throwing any kind of reference to other, like, in American culture like that. We try to. They try to in some way, if there's to Ray's point, Ray was saying that we do have direct references to Nazi uniforms and like all kinds of samurai like memorabilia, all that kind of stuff, imagery and all that Asian stuff.
I'll give you more. I'll give you a line. Tell me this. I want you to say this to me, and I'll give you the response. Tell me your tauntaun will freeze out there.
Wait,
tell me that. Say it to me. Tell me your.
What'd you say? Your tauntaun will freeze out there, and I'll see you in hell.
Yeah. That's a reference to a very earthbound, very
hell yeah. I know, and I would totally have flagged it. No, I mean, I totally get that. I would have been like, I would have been like, that's kind of weird, but at the same time, has hell been said before? Because they've said damn, and damn is like damning something, not saying hell.
Here's something I've noticed with Star Wars. I think that they've gotten more loose. I think they've gotten more lax about letting more traditional curse words appear in the stuff since the Disney takeover. I think before that, before the Disney stuff, I noticed, they used a lot of their more, remember there was the words like stang, stuff like that. They were getting much more, I think they were kind of strict about making sure if your character uses a curse word, they're going to use one of the Star Wars curse words. Right. And I think they even tried to retcon Han's line in Empire Strikes Back about hell. I think it was like spelled slightly differently, like maybe it was H-A-I-L maybe. But
the thing about it is, in all societies, though, there's some sort of hell.
Yeah, there's
all some like heavens, evil. Yeah. The hells and heavens. So it's not necessarily a human bound term, or like, I mean, that's where I can kind of see hell kind of getting a pass. But I get you. That would still have me kind of like, because even damn, I mean, any curse word in Star Wars is kind of like a, because I love when they come up with stuff.
It's like anachronistic. Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, that's the term for that stuff. Whenever something that's obviously man-made within our own universe, our own, societies, when it's suddenly transferred either out of its time, when it's like, say someone in like a history show uses a term that's not really used until maybe modern day, or something like that, something along the lines of like a character using a term that really only applies to our society here and doesn't seem like it would have any basis as existing somehow in their society. I think the term for that is an anachronism or anachronistic wording. Mm-hmm. So,
but yeah, I mean, if they are becoming more lax, I mean, I think that's a bad thing. They really should watch that, because I just don't think with any property, be it Marvel, Star Wars, you have certain. I just feel like you have certain guidelines, and when you start to dance too far out of them, is when it starts to really become iffy. Because then you start to really lose the magic of what it is. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? When it starts to just look like anything else. I just hate for anything. Like, especially with Star Wars, it would be weird to see a lot of like more recent bleed through, because you already see a lot of, like you said, the Nazi references and stuff like that. And we already have so many references to like early evil. Mm-hmm. I would love to see other references. And I mean,
we get like,
what that is, I have no idea.
I mean, Kurosawa references, like for all my problems with, The Last Jedi, one shot that still like sticks in my memory is the wide showdown classic samurai shot between Kylo Ren and Luke out on Crate. Mm-hmm. There's that one shot between the two of them. Looks like a classic Kurosawa shot. Looks great. Like, samurai films, old school. I mean, And I mean, that's more of a filmmaker style, though, than an anachronism. But still,
but I will say though, they have gotten lax in terms of, like, I think you Ashley brought it up, saying like just certain language coming into like, or just I was like, just words that they would say, and I'm like, God, they need to. I would just stop them and go like, whoa, guys, hey, this is Star Wars. Like, let's invent slang. We don't have to. We don't have to say crap. We don't have to say, like, whatever, like yeet. Who knows what's about to be in the next book? I don't know, but
did you say yeet?
Yeah, like yeet or these. Who knows? I will not be surprised when we see an alien appear in a book and he'll be called These Nuts. D's, D-E-E-Z. It may even be, they'd be like, no, he's got 3 E's in his name. D's Nuts. It's like N-U-T-Z. And it's like, see, and that's like an example of being like, you're so funny. Like, it's like,
Hondo and I are coming to tell you that this ship over here is fire.
Right? Yeah.
It's fire.
Right? Yeah. I have a jar of this fire. But I mean, I don't know. I guess that's just my old man rant. But at the same time, it's like I feel like I'm trying to keep the young spirit of Star Wars alive. I just feel like instead of falling back on easy tropes, we need to at least, or if you want to enter like current themes or whatever, or some elements like Trojan horse that crap, man. Like make it your own. Sneak it in a certain way. Like make it your own. Mm-hmm. Because that's the way you really blow people's minds. Because then when they think back and they're like, "Oh my God, he was talking about the great like pudding factory explosion of 24," and I just thought it was, oh Jesus,
I thought he's just flying spaceships through the air.
Yeah, I thought this is a flying space movie, and they talking about stuff like that. I
didn't know. and speaking on that too, I also have my grievances with, especially the High Republic stuff that I've been reading so far.
Oh, you have grievances with it?
Dude, just the amount of references to sex.
Oh yeah, now they love them some sex in this series. They're like,
it's because
Star Wars.
Well, I think this is much more book focused. I think that maybe Lucasfilm's given them a little bit more leeway because it's definitely not nearly as connected as other stuff. So they don't have to. I don't think they probably in their priorities. They probably don't think like, well, the people who love the movies and would complain about sex,
but
probably wouldn't be reading these. Maybe
prior to Disney, though, you didn't have any of that stuff. I don't remember any talk of that in.
Sorry, that must have been just a fan fiction I read.
Yeah, it could have been.
Golly, boy. Let me tell you something. I'm going to observe here. Ray, I'm loving Drunk Ray because he is snooty and catty as hell.
I'm buzzed.
I can tell. In his head, he's like, man, I'm flaming these people tonight. I got them so good.
I'm roasted.
What's in that cup, Ray?
Oh, this is coffee, actually.
That's coffee. They told you it was coffee, Ashley. What are you doing?
I'm sobering.
He's trying to get some.
Ashley's like, you got to get like me, cocaine in the bathroom. That's how I get through my day.
Like Amber Heard.
But oh yeah,
that's not real. You didn't do that.
If you say something, if you keep that going, they're gonna cast her in a Star Wars movie or TV show, and I'm gonna be upset. I just am. I mean, nothing against anybody, but I could be sad if she got cast.
Oh my goodness.
But anyways, carry on, Ashley.
All right, so let's end that bit of conversation.
I'll say this. Oh, well, now that I saw that, I'm just going to say final word about it because that cover, I really thought this was going to be one of those, like, I thought it was going to be obviously a selfie look, and it looks more like it looks just more like a classic, friends laying in a field pose. So it just looks innocent to me. It's not very Star Wars. It's not Star Warsy, overtly Star Warsy. So yeah, I would say I wish there was a little bit more, at least in the design of maybe what they're wearing, to make it a little bit more obvious that it's Star Wars. But
like you mentioned, I was going to say, like you mentioned, if it was a variant cover, totally. I'd be like, oh yeah, totally. Like artist choice. Like they wanted to have fun with it. Like you said, make it fun. But yeah, it's just such an odd choice for like a main cover.
Does it fit the story of that issue though? Like, is it a very character focused?
Not really, and to be honest with you, a lot of times the covers are almost delayed. Like the covers reference like either something that's going to happen in the next issue. It's kind of weird how they do it, but I think what it probably is. I mean, in their defense, this is now me after I've ran it. In their defense, Dr. Aphra overall has like this overall humorous tone. Like they're more playful in that, and she's a lot more playful. And so I guess that's probably what they were going for, is just with that particular cover in general. They're just like, it's just playful, them and Sana and all their, it's like, it's just, I don't know. I would have been like, guys, as cool as this is, like frame it and I'll keep it in my office. Like we got to change that.
Let's make this a 1 in 25 variant.
Yeah. Nice.
So what news we got, Ashley?
Okay, yeah, let's swing it a little bit over here to the other side with some Star Wars news.
Swing it.
Here we go. We have the first pick from the set of Ahsoka.
Man, this is so good. I've never seen. I didn't know when the Indiana Jones, the last movie was being made, and they gave you the photo of his hat. Obviously, that made everybody happy. But when I saw this photo and saw that hat, got super happy. I love that. That makes me so friggin' happy for him. Like so warm.
Oh yeah.
And I tried to zoom in on the pictures to see what was on the cameras, but you can't tell really.
So is Filoni like he's gonna be like the showrunner, like credited showrunner for this series, or is he doing it like with the Mandalorian, like co-running it with Favreau or something?
That I don't know. I'm assuming that. I'm assuming he's co-running it with Favreau, but maybe it is all him.
I mean, I would assume. I mean, with the experience he's had, I would hope or assume that he's gotten to the point where he's confident enough to handle show running duties by himself for a live action series. I mean, he's got tons of experience, and then working on the Mandalorian got him like the experience with live action. Working.
It says
with
they're both
stuff.
showrunner. It says they both developed it and they're both showrunners.
So it is him and Favreau. Okay.
No, it's him and Favreau, which I'm fine with that because that's probably to me. I mean, this is just me kind of like fantasizing. This may not even be reality, but I really do feel like they've probably got a great working relationship. Like they probably balance each other out really well. And whatever, because I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, obviously there's a lot that each lack in terms of like experience. And especially like Dave comes with it with all the Star Wars knowledge and his Star Wars experience doing these animated series. So he has the wealth of characters. But then you have Favreau coming at it as a fan, but then he also has all this technical knowledge and just movie making knowledge experience. And stuff. Yeah, so it's like I love that balance, man. They seem to have like I'm glad that their paths cross because this just seems like a match made in heaven. It's obviously making dreams happen in terms of like the ultimate fan fiction in certain cases. I mean, I don't know. It's great.
Well, one of the best strengths about Favreau is that he's made his bones by proving that he can go on both sides of the aisle in terms of making films. Like he can make small, films. That's where he paid his dues. Career wise, he made small films like Swingers and what was the Made? Yeah. And he still comes back and does those like Chef.
Chef was great.
Chef is really great. But he also, like we said, obviously, he helped grandfather in the MCU. He was kind of him and Robert Downey Jr. were kind of the spark of that flame that's still burning. Just over 10 years later now. It's
very brightly.
Yeah, very brightly still. And so. He's really proved his worth. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of that, I know this is a Star Wars show. Just real quick, since we brought that up, how do you feel now after all this time looking back on that original, like the original rumblings of the Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie? I can do you remember the original Iron Man days? At all?
I still remember us. I remember before that, and I still remember us all going to see it. Me and Austin and some of our friends. But
Yeah, I just remember that being a really good rumble.
Yeah,
that was like a good word of mouth movie where it was like, because at the time Downey was not in a good place. Favreau was on the rise, obviously, but he was always back and forth between actor and director. So it was never like you didn't know what trajectory really he could just explode out of, because he was obviously, it was like, if anything, you would look at John back then. It was like Favreau was the Favreau the actor, like, because he was just so known in everything. He was Favreau the actor. Anyway, so you get that going on, and now it's like we knew back then, or I know I did. It was a gamble. It was a total gamble of the movie. And now, flash forward, it's like, wow, how well did that pay off? And I got to see that entire ride. Is pretty crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember the first promo photo of Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, was him in the cave, and you see the chest piece on him, and he was doing the hammer.
Yep.
Which is funny enough, that was the final sound of his character exit in Endgame. The very, very final thing you hear at the end of the credits is him hitting the metal, from the workshop. But yeah. Oh,
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Here, quick weird trivia though. Do you know who fronted Robert Downey Jr.? I think it was his insurance stuff, to kind of prove to the studio that he was worth the money. Like basically, like, who was his big voucher, like, that helped him? Like, I think he paid it was Mel Gibson.
Was it? I was going to say, I feel like there was some. I'd heard this before.
Yeah, we trust you.
I mean, it paid off.
It's good to at least hear balanced. Balanced coverage of Mel. Because listen, I'll say, and I know this is really random, for whatever everything says wrong about that dude, like I've always also seen him do a lot of good stuff too. So I don't know. I'm not a total Mel hater, and I don't know. It just seems like there's still a lot of animosity towards the guy.
I mean, it's every people are people. Like, there's bad, and there's obviously, things you shouldn't say, obviously.
For sure.
But people are three-dimensional. So I mean, people are flawed. I've seen much more flawed people than that. Very, very much so.
Yeah, but that's pretty interesting though. I feel like I had heard that story, or I had something about that. But that's pretty interesting that he floated him the insurance money. Yeah, because he only got paid like what, $800,000, something like that. It was like below $1 million.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they were friends because they worked together on that movie back in the '90s. I don't know if either you remember this, but Air America. Do you remember that? I loved it. Great little action comedy. Yeah, I mean they started together.
I completely forgot about that.
Great
Jesus.
Film.
No, I mean I just forgot about that. I forgot that they did that together. I totally have missed that connection. I need to write that down. I gotta watch that tonight for sure. I'm watching that. And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I gotta watch that.
You really want to watch that?
Which one?
Air America.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
He doesn't like he doesn't like. Well, I'm trying to remember someone else that was in that movie besides Robert Downey Jr.
Isn't that a Hollywood Pictures movie? I was going to say, actually,
I think it was.
And she's like, I don't watch any Hollywood Pictures movies.
I don't.
They all stink.
I just remember the trailer for it.
I turn it off.
Yeah. I just remember the trailer starting and Mel Gibson eating a sandwich while the plane was crashing. I thought, that looks funny, so I'm going to bring it. That's funny. Serious. Had some dark moments, but still fun. Anyways.
Okay,
we got more news though. Like, we want to go to toys, or are we still on?
Yeah, we can
shows?
go. Yeah, we can go to the toys. We got 28 minutes in. Let's go to the toys.
All right,
let's go to the toys. So let's show off some toys that were just.
Now, in that toy life in the last episode, me and Austin talked a little bit about one of them coming up, which is this dude.
This dude right here, Obi-Wan from the new Obi-Wans. It's called Wandering Jedi. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
So what do y'all think? What do y'all think so far of it? Do y'all like it?
It's the best. To me, it's probably the best younger Obi-Wan figure they've ever released. Just in terms of the face sculpt, the look. I thought the episode 2 Obi-Wan looked really good. This one's like probably a step or a couple steps up from that one at least. But it's really good. I like the cloth cape.
Ash is gonna burn it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to hate it.
Look at how straight. I mean, look at how straight those lines are. That just is not cloth, man.
Just put some pipe cleaners in it and shape it how you want for the pictures.
I guess so.
You're just gonna get the drunken beast out of me.
You could just take a lighter to the bottom of it and just like burn some of the bottoms of it.
Now, see, I like this. I like this right here.
Yeah,
I love it without it too.
Well, one thing I do love about this design, and like for the show itself, his design, like this kind of look they're going with, it kind of feels like that Wandering Ronin kind of.
Oh yeah, for
idea.
Sure.
I really dig that.
That's why I'm a sucker for it.
Yeah, it's kind of that like samurai, so it's still kind of that samurai influence. I love it.
Why does his lightsaber? His lightsaber looks different, doesn't it?
No.
The hilt, or is it the same?
No, it looks the same. It's just it's like they're probably just really putting more emphasis on it. But it looks just like the episode 3.
Yeah.
Hilt. But go back up to a few pictures. I just love this. The first one you showed without the cloak. That like one of these. No, it just looked like the pose here. It's like I'm just hearing him going like yeah.
You're just gonna start no form, and he's just like batting at people.
He is. He's just like whipping people. He's just whipping it at people. Like yeah. Like go down. Look at him.
Well, what do you think?
Yeah, get back. Yeah.
Here's another question because I think this is the first time we've seen like a design with Obi-Wan Kenobi that his boots are not over his pants. That
is true.
Crazy. Yeah. It's like destroys the world of Star Wars now. This is big.
You've just uncovered something.
I actually dig it. It's just because it kind of goes against the grain of all the other iterations we've seen of him. Like, episode 1 through 3, he had the very elegant, because he's kind of Coruscanty almost at that point. He lived there most of his life, so he's very, with the Jedi Order, so very kind of elegant. And then so at this point, he's very, downtrodden. I mean, I heard a plot point is that he has no clue about what happened to Anakin after their fight. Like he has no clue about Vader, the suit or anything like that. So when we meet up with him,
he knows he's Vader. I mean, because Yoda told him.
No, I'm talking about the suit. Like that he's.
Well, because remember, he's talking about after the fight. As far as they knew, he was dead. Obi-Wan killed him,
he left him for dead.
Right.
But he knew what happened afterward. It's not about. No, I wasn't referring to him knowing his identity as Vader, but I meant him knowing what happened to him. Like, as in, like he was turned into this cyborg monstrosity who was like. Just become this rage machine that just does the Emperor's bidding.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's supposed to be because it's almost like seeing someone who is your best friend not only turn bad, but they've had their whole being mutilated into this whole other thing. It's just I'm interested to see how that plays out on screen.
Well, that's exactly like, I mean, if that's the route they go, which I was hoping that is, that's exactly how I was hoping. That's how I always imagined it would be, was that Obi-Wan, leaves him for dead, and then his realization that he becomes Vader is a lot more like horror, like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like you're still, number one, you're still alive, and like you said, they have like turned you into a monster.
Yeah.
But it's just like, and it totally makes sense. Like, actually he totally, like, they knew he was Vader, but then they don't know Vader exists really in that world unless you're kind of like, unless you are in the path of Vader, or a lot of people, like a standard person, really doesn't know what Darth Vader is. Especially at that time, he's still
I guess you're right.
way more hidden too.
Yeah, I don't think Vader.
Secret weapon.
Yeah, I don't think Vader was much of a public figure. Because
he was like more of a secret weapon.
Well, he was more like, kind of like with regular politics. Unless you're really paying attention, you don't really know who the generals are. Like I can't really name the generals that we currently have, who are our top generals.
Right. That's why I say it would be like you, unless you were in his path, like unless you had to know who Vader was, like you did, like you said, dealt in politics.
Yeah.
You really don't have to worry. He your life doesn't revolve around him at all. But
and we know that Palpatine prided himself on controlling information all around him. And what he was doing, he was very from read stuff like the Lost Star, stuff like that. You could see that he was very reclusive. Like he rarely came out in public. Because he didn't want. I don't think he liked to show his face after what happened. After he got all scarred up in episode 3, I think he showed himself once to the benefit of trying to convince everybody that the Jedi, attacked him and they left him scarred.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I think he kind of just avoided being in public unless he had to do something. So he was, sorry.
Going back to this figure, and you're talking about the the pants being over the boots. I don't know. I think that's just socks.
No, I think it's that look. It's like a style though.
Yeah,
because it's like a worker style.
Like, check this out. I think that's just socks. Because Ewan McGregor tried to do the same thing at
with his high waters
at this press screen.
Yeah.
It's a Scottish thing. I don't know why y'all are making fun of him.
I'm not making fun of him.
It's a Scottish thing.
Oh my God!
Stop! He doesn't deserve this.
And this would be part of the discussion. You notice the showrunner and then these three. Because mainly all people talk about in the ether is Hayden's back, and Ewan's back, but the girl who's playing Reva is also being featured in them in these press these press pictures. So it really is becoming clear. I think she's going to be also part of the main plot, not just in terms of just she's a bad guy plot. I think her character is going to be probably one that gets fleshed out, and I bet she's probably going to have her own character arc that we'll probably see in the storyline play out.
So along those lines, introduce everyone to our topic of the week.
Oh God, How do I do that in my state of being?
Hey, can I make a joke real quick before you introduce the topic?
Yeah.
How, if you look at this photo, it's so funny how, Ewan McGregor aged down. So now, Hayden is older than Ewan McGregor here. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It looks like their grandpa, their 50-year-old grandpa over here. And then there's, 20-year-old Ewan McGregor over on the right-hand side. Hey, guys, I got to hurry up and get back to class. Can we take this photo?
Wow. You know what? I'm noticing his pants are rolled up, too. So not only are they too short, he rolled them up even more.
I think he just likes to show off his socks.
I just think Ashley doesn't know
what wants to show his socks off, because if you're going to show off your socks, you got to get something more than just plain white socks.
Ashley, have you ever even watched a Yeezy fashion show? What's up with you, dude?
Oh my God! Are you serious? Oh my God, dude!
No, does he?
Oh my God!
Would Yeezy still do fashion shows? I thought he's
too busy doing I was just trying to throw something, because I feel like everything now that revolves around fashion is Yeezy.
Yeah.
What is a Yeezy? I don't even know these words you're throwing around.
It's a Star Wars word.
It is.
But I will say this. I shared this before
Austin's
we go.
Gone.
Austin's gone?
Oh God, we lost Austin.
There
he
is.
is. We lost you for a second and it got scary. Okay. So
Yeezy, Yuzum, they're all the same.
But
what? No.
That's very true.
That's very true. Look, he's got the high water pants on. That's the thing now.
I think I actually saw somebody walk into a store today, wearing just to get a pack of Skittles.
Yeah, they got some Skittles.
Yeah, I saw him just pick up some Skittles. All
right, so
we got a scratchy lottery.
Yeah,
scratchy lottos. Topic. Well, Obi-Wan's kind of the crux of this, because there was a leak recently. I didn't look too much into it, but it seems like people were upset over. Well, I think part of it might be an ending that might have been leaked, but also the idea that Obi-Wan isn't featured as heavily as the title would suggest.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess kind of how much? I guess it'd be almost a two-part question. How much fan service is too much fan service, and how much freedom is too much freedom for the creative head of a certain project within a mythos? Like, we can look at, obvious stumbles where we look at like the sequel trilogy, where there were creative stumbles that may have been. I'm going to be very neutral about it, but may have been detrimental or not to the mythos of Star Wars as a whole, like going forward, like can they go from there? But also how, if you stick too hard to the fan service, like some people complain about with Filoni and Favreau, how much of that is too much? So where do you think this happy medium can be, creatively within this whole universe? I guess. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and obviously I think you're trying to get to, because in the last Disney Plus show, The Book of Boba Fett, it seems like they took 2 episodes off of Boba Fett to focus on
Mandalorian 2.5.
Yeah.
But
2.5.
But the thing is I get it too. I guess they could get away with it because they're like saying, well, it's the Book of Boba Fett, and so it could be just what's happening in the world of Boba Fett in that moment, and this does revolve. So it's like I could get that. I think with Kenobi, being that it's going to be a limited series event, here's two parts of the equation that's going to play into this. I think number one, you can only have so much of an Obi-Wan Kenobi story in between 3 and 4, right? Because we just know he looks after Luke, and if there's any sort of a Darth Vader like tangle, it's probably going to be like a one and done thing, that happens early on, and then he just goes on his merry way back to Tatooine or whatever. I don't know. But so you can only tell a limited story. So not that you're going to have limited Kenobi screen time, but I feel like we're going to get like a solid Kenobi story with him being the main character. But I probably feel like we're going to get a lot of supporting character backstory, maybe even sometimes where we break away from Kenobi for a little bit and really hone in on maybe even like the villain. Maybe we really focus on a lot of her. Maybe there's even like one episode where she's in it more, like she's in it 95% of the time and he's only in it 5% of the time. Whatever services the series as a whole is fine. I could get where somebody would be upset if it's just like, oh, it's kind of like The Hobbit. Think about the Hobbit series that came out recently, where it was like, it's called The Hobbit, but you very rarely focus on The Hobbit. It's pretty much kind of like, oh, you mean the world of The Hobbit, because it's like he's barely in there. He's like, he just kind of gets tossed by the wayside a lot of times, and then you get all the big major action. But that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you can say that there are stories that are happening within that world, and what do you focus on? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could easily say there's a story, a whole story right there. Oh, there's a whole story right there. And that's the whole point of Star Wars, is that it opens up bigger worlds and bigger stories to be told, either in some other medium or something. But with Kenobi, I know that you're going to play with a limited Kenobi storyline because there's not much you can tell. So that they're probably going to get to the meat of it with him, protect Luke's integrity, like his location and all that. And he's going to have an encounter with Darth Vader. And then everything else is probably just going to be like probably some dark side, Jedi execution plot line.
Here's some of my guesses. I'm not gonna say theory. I'm gonna say guesses from what I've seen of the trailers, what's been shown, and what we currently know about the Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm.
Or the mythos timeline as we know now. So 10 years. This is 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So I think so far, there's going to be 3 main plot lines, or maybe 2.5. And I think 2 big ones are going to be Obi-Wan and Reva, I think. Because I think they're going to focus on Reva because it's an outlet that hasn't been really explored. It's been touched on, but not really explored, which was what was done to the people who become Inquisitors, because these were all former Jedi in one way or another. A lot of them were Padawans who were basically tortured into becoming dark side users. And we only touched on that, I think, in Fallen Order, and that wasn't too much touching on.
Well, they touch on it a little bit in the Vader comics and stuff like that.
They do?
But it's like you say, it's very limited. It's something that really deserve a bigger story and told in a bigger medium.
Yeah. So I think because that does sound like an interesting storyline to follow. If something happens where we see some stuff about her, figure out who she is now, and maybe some kind of conflict arises, maybe starts to make her break through. I don't know. We'll see. And then I think the other one, if it becomes a full plot line that we can really follow, Vader, obviously, what he's doing. He's been trapped in this suit for 10 years now. So I think that's what's going to be at least the focus. But I guess that may not make some people happy. I mean, well, we already talked about it previously. Some people were, are already upset at the idea of a Kenobi show because they thought he should just literally be sitting in a dirt house with his thumb up his butt, wondering what's Luke doing right now.
Like episode 2, he looks through the binoculars again. It's like that's why I'm like, they gotta, they do have to, like, because you really, like I said, you only get one shot really with the Obi-Wan Kenobi story there in the middle. So it's like, while you have that one shot, you have another opportunity to tell other stories at the same time. And maybe it'll be some sort of a corruption thing. Maybe it's a thing about like how the after effects, it's like, they had to corrupt to continue to murder or to capture and all that. And then it's,
Well, also, considering some of the lines we heard, because we did hear, there was a voiceover in the first trailer where it seems like Obi-Wan was talking to somebody, possibly a Jedi, another Jedi who survived the Order 66, because he's saying specific lines like, it's over, we lost, stuff like that. And for me, in that context, the only person I could think that would be relevant for him to be speaking that to be maybe another Jedi finds him and wants his help, and he's just outright refusing. It's like, no, we lost. And I could see that not just from a protect Luke standpoint, but from he has watched his entire world. This is a guy, I could see him still having some PTSD from what happened to him, because his whole world was turned upside down in, a matter of days. He lost his best friend, basically his brother, betrayed by people who he'd been standing by in battle for 3 years.
And that's another thing too, is the fact that they didn't even have time to process the war. You went from fighting on the front lines with your fellow brothers, your fellow Jedi, and your fellow clones. All of a sudden, those fellow clones turn on you, and then you've never had time to process that until you finally go into hiding on Tatooine, and and you're keeping this big secret. And then you just have to deal with that. You just have to live with those demons. Yeah. So I bet they're probably going to have to.
And also, like,
in some way.
Well, also just the stability that he had for like 35 years at that point, maybe. However old he was, there was a stability within his world with the Order itself. He always knew there was the Order. That was his, I guess, way of life structured around, the Order, his home, basically. That's gone, so I'm not saying they're gonna do it, we always can theorize about, such juicy ideas that can be harvested for a storyline, but I mean, it's there if they decide, if they do it, that idea is there. So I would do it if it were me writing. I'd say, that'd be a good through point for internal conflict with him. Is that one reason he probably wouldn't want to help is that he's just that broken from what happened to him, that he just,
and in some way though,
all I want is you leave me alone. I'm going to watch this kid. It's all I have left is watching him.
But I'm sure that whatever happens in this series is supposed to set up or create the final step for Obi-Wan, like to become that humble master that we know by the time that Maul finds him on the planet. You know what I mean? And then you have then episode 4. Because if you look, I mean, when you're in episode 1, Obi-Wan, he's stuck up, tight, sort of like nervous, but he's kind of like a tight butt, But then by the time episode 3 rolls around, he's a lot more loosey goosey, and he'll jump right into the action now. Because he had to fight through a water. Yeah, hello there. I just love. I mean, that was to me, that was always symbolic. It was it was just symbolic because it was always. It went from him being so so tight and so like by the books and so like oh, we shouldn't be doing this, or what do we and then now it's he's like, look, I'll jump in the middle of it to take these people out if I have to and shut this stuff down. And he just became such a powerful Jedi. But then, like you said, all that stuff happened and it broke him. And so I think there's something that has to happen that fixes him in a way that humbles him, and so that it solidifies it's like his mission in life. He goes, you know what? I know what my true purpose now is finally, and I bet that's probably how this miniseries is supposed to end. That is so that he'll kind of go into that final transition, and then he's just the look at that, that old man.
Well, speaking of that, there was the new trailer that came out recently.
Yep.
And did either of you catch this? I mean, maybe it's just something with how I was hearing it, but in the moment with the little exchange that was shown between him and Owen Lars, did his voice, like the tone and the timbre of his voice, did it kind of sound a little reminiscent of Alec Guinness with how he spoke? Like, oh, when he's old enough, the boy must be trained. I was just hearing like, wow, that sounds like he's trying to sound a little Alec Guinness.
Look at his face around here too. So they've gone in. I think they've gone in with makeup to make him look a little
older than he is.
Yeah, because he's got lots of little wrinkles.
What's that? Tatooine's son too, I bet.
Yeah, because I've been looking at some of these press tour photos, and McGregor doesn't have like all these wrinkles.
And it's so funny because he's playing like the natural age of the guy, but it's like they're like, darn it, Ewan, and they're having to like go in there and de-age, like make him older, or de-age him, but age him.
Age him.
But yeah, no, I mean, I get it though. I mean, you at a certain point, if you have a show called Kenobi, it'd be one thing if it was like an ongoing series. It would start to become like, okay, maybe this isn't just. It would be like kind of like Rambo or not MASH. Matlock. I don't know why I was saying MASH. Matlock and things like that. You start to kind of or Walker. You start to revolve around, and then you start to really. You really do. You start to like become
the Flash, where
Flash. Yeah.
And I think superheroes where Flash is kind of the leader.
Yeah, kind of. So it's like, it's good that this, we know that they have said, they're like, look, this is a mini series, like this is a limited series event. So it's like, I'm sure they're gonna walk a fine line. Now, if it all of a sudden becomes where like, wow, they barely have Ewan in this show, like he was in 2 episodes, then I'm gonna be mad.
I think you got to look at it like a 6-hour movie.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, he may not be, even if he was out of like one complete episode. If you look at it as a whole, it's still Kenobi.
Now, just imagine if they had done a 22-episode season and then they padded like the Flash. Now, I'm just thinking about Owen Lars, like he sees Obi-Wan, so like, Obi-Wan, let's go talk in this hallway down here. Do you remember that joke, Ashley?
Yeah.
Like every other time, anytime there was something between characters in the Flash, they need to go out in the hallway.
Oh yeah, they got to go out in the hallway.
Just inside the science room to have a serious conversation.
Yes, God.
Let's go out Let's go out in this Tatooine corridor over here in this alleyway. The same alleyway we've seen in 15 other episodes this season.
I'm so over the DC universe, but that's another podcast. Show.
Hey, on the Obi-Wan train though, has anybody grabbed their copy of Obi-Wan yet?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Is this supposed to tie into the show or something?
I really don't know. I haven't even read it yet, but I grabbed my copy today, and then I also grabbed an extra copy. I grabbed the variant cover, or one. There was 2 different variants, but I wanted this variant. It just looked really good, so I grabbed this variant cover to go with it. I usually do that a lot of times especially for my number ones. I'll usually, if they have a good variant, I'll grab the variant covers.
One thing I do know about the show. Another part of the other part of the question I was asking, how much creative freedom is a little too much in your opinion? Like, I guess controversially, we could say like we said,
I guess it kind of ties into our previous.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I guess kind of what I'm getting at in connection with Kenobi is I think some people got a little concerned because she did an interview, Deborah Chow.
Mm-hmm.
And because this is, I think, the first show we'll be seeing in terms of live action stuff where it's not, ran by Favreau and Filoni. but she mentioned in the interview, anytime she had any kind of issue with mythos, lore, stuff like that, Filoni was always kind of her touchstone. She could always go to him if she needed, any kind of lore stuff to work with. And I guess
that makes me feel good.
Yeah. That I guess because it always falls back to that kind of thing of what happened with the sequel trilogy, where creatives got a little too in their own head about it, that they just they really didn't care as a whole of what they were doing with the mythos, instead of trying to expand it anyway. Solid as The Force Awakens was, JJ, he did kind of stunt expanding the lore of the universe by just kind of redoing everything and resetting everything. Like we have Empire and Rebels 2.0 now. So Rian Johnson kind of had his own thing where he stunted some stuff and brought up new ideas that weren't really new ideas, like anybody can be a Jedi. It was like we already knew that. So I guess what I'm getting at is, when you have a creative who's not involved as much, I guess, with the story group, the big story group, is that a bad thing or is that a good thing?
I don't know if it's...
Is there a balance?
Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, but she has one thing going for her that, like, they didn't, right? Mm-hmm. She has previous movies and movies that take place after that. So, there's only so much she can do in there.
Yeah, that's
the sequel trilogy was like wide open. I mean, you could make Luke Skywalker a pea farmer or something, going into the future there. But
stop! I'm trying to grow these soybeans.
Yeah, you got.
But I do like to have to give them. I do like to give them creative freedom, though. If they're not so honed into a story group, I think it's kind of healthy too. But at the same time, I think if you are like choosing to direct in that universe, like I think if you're going to choose to do something in that way, you've got to be able to adapt to the story group, though, because I feel like it's not yours. You are dabbling in that universe, so you've got to be willing to play ball with the other people. Kind of like how like Rian Johnson probably kind of had his way a little bit. Probably put his foot down a lot more.
I don't think that. I got the vibe that him and JJ both. I think they almost got no holds barred on creative freedom, because it really feels like.
But with JJ, it was a safer thing because he's just going to give you kind of a variation of what you already had. So it's a safer bet. But with Ryan's going to try to give you something new, but it may not be something that totally fits in the Star Wars universe. So, but he's not I don't think he's the kind of person that would go like, oh, you don't think that would fit? Okay, let me try something different. He's not going to be he's going to be like, F you, I'm going to make another movie. I don't deserve this. I'm an artist. Yeah. And he's totally right in that way. He's totally right. That's why I think that Star Wars does need to play ball with directors that can play ball, but they do need to allow them creative freedom. So I hope that Deborah's like, she gets to have her stamp on it, but at the same time, like give her flavor, but it doesn't I hope it doesn't step too far outside of the Star Wars norms.
Well, the one thing I have heard that sort of gives me pause is I think she is quoted in an interview saying something to the effect of, this series will change your view on A New Hope. And the original trilogy. So that could be good, that could be bad.
Yeah.
And a lot of times though it's just clickbait, or not clickbait, but like it's just words for them to try to like market and drum up like interest, and
loaded wording.
Loaded wording. I would just probably take it as with a grain of salt, because I'm like, what is she going to do that's going to really affect it?
Well, it could be like the prequel trilogy, how it affected the original trilogy. Yeah. It made you go back and realize, okay, Darth Vader's not like this bad, this total villain that we made him out to be. Even though he's a bad guy in the, in the original trilogy, we see why and how he, his whole story arc play out. And we look at him in a different light in the original trilogy than we did before the.
Well, I think we're safe from like a brain swapping thing happens, where it turns out Obi-Wan was really Anakin when he met, when he was old Ben, And it just turns out that Obi-Wan was really Anakin just trying to protect his son, and Obi-Wan was just a jealous old Jedi who turned bad. He got stuck in the Vader suit.
Maybe.
And that happened. Well, I could see her saying that on surface level without knowing how the plot's actually going to play out. But my guess is if you're going to have Hayden Christensen return as Vader and you're going to have Ewan, I bet there is going to be a confrontation between him and Vader, which does kind of, I guess it's could make some people mad at the idea that the last time they fought wasn't Mustafar anymore, but that doesn't bother me if the whole of their confrontations between, after he became Vader and then Obi-Wan's death in A New Hope is just two. Because that's over a 19-year period. What happens when, they had their first fight, and then what happens 10 years later, and they don't see each other again until on the Death Star. That's not a bad thing, because 10 years is a long time still.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's 19 years, I believe, between Revenge of the Sith and 19 years between A New Hope and Revenge of the Sith, I believe. Is that correct?
Or somewhere like 18 and 19, something like that.
So
it's always
a long time.
But when last we met, I was but the learner. Now I'm the master.
It could fit still, because he's still, maybe he's still trying to figure himself out. Maybe something happens where he's kind of taken aback. Maybe something happens where by the end of the series, maybe Anakin Vader is more resolute in who he feels that he is now. And so brings more. It could, bring him closer to what he was like when we saw him in Rebels. He was much, he was terrifying in Rebels.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I think it's probably going to, though, they're just to retcon it. They're going to have in the big fight, Obi-Wan's going to just before he does probably a shore Lucan uppercut, he's going to say something like, you're still nothing but an apprentice. And then, shore Lucan, and then knocks Darth Vader off the bridge or whatever they're fighting on. And then so that later on, he'll be like, when I last met you, I was but the learner, but now I'm the master.
Or, they could go back to that idea of Obi-Wan does seem to outsmart Anakin. Or it was something they played with in extended versions of Episode 3. Like if you read, I think it was maybe in the comics, and also was in the novelization, Obi-Wan did some clever stuff that Anakin wasn't expecting. Did you read the novelization, Ashley?
Yeah, but I don't remember this.
Well, one thing I remember specifically they did that I thought was a really cool thing was he used the Force to short out some of the servos in his mechanical arm, so it made him drop his. I think it made him lose his grip on his lightsaber for a moment. So if he does something similar, maybe he messes with his electronics briefly to kind of give himself a chance to at least get away or something like that, or to stun him long enough to end the battle somehow. Maybe like Austin said, maybe they're on a bridge and he uses the opportunity either cut the bridge off somehow or knock him off the bridge or jumps off the bridge himself to get away. That could be kind of that thing where he outsmarted him. Vader's like, well, crap, I got outsmarted by this little punk. So
I agree. That's how I look at it. That's probably what's going to happen. We just spoiled it for everybody. Boom.
All right.
Well, I was going to say one last thing. What Austin was saying about creatives. I like, you were saying, they do need to play ball, have directors who will play ball.
In this particular product, or any kind of, when you come into any kind of IP, you really do need to play ball.
Well, I'll say Marvel has a problem where sometimes they seem almost too strict with the storyline. So I think what they need, if they don't already do it, is there's the story group with Lucasfilm, but I think of JJ and Ryan and how they handle things, or how it seemed how they handle things. I would hope that from here on they do more of a back and forth with the story group, I have these ideas. What do y'all think here? And it's well, let's not do that. And there was kind of like a back and forth to work towards something even better. So it's almost like beneficial brainstorming to get to the best product. Where
I think they do that. I would think they do that. I think the story group is there to keep them between the lines.
Sometimes it almost felt like, at least with, I always got the impression with JJ and Ryan stuff that it was more along the lines of, I'm creating new canon. All you need to do is tell me whether or not it's going to mess up anything from before. That's all. Basically, like, as in, like, instead of bouncing ideas back and forth of whether or not this breaks something, more along the lines of, does this break anything before yet? And, he basically like uses them as a reference guide instead of as a partner. That's what I mean.
Well, yeah, I've heard similar, and I've also heard rumors that, there was lots of fighting between J.J. Abrams and even Ryan Johnson and the story group. And they just kind of overrode. They went to Kathy Kennedy and said, "Hey, we're not doing that. We're doing this."
I'd hope from here on out they have, they can work with people who are much more willing to play ball and have, like, Favreau and especially Favreau seems like he has no problem playing ball and playing around in the sandbox and working with working together to make sure something kind of fits. So,
okay. Well, that's great. That's great. Great conversation. Great conversation. All right, let's wrap this up for this week. Anything you want to recommend or, just hype up?
I would say if you get a chance to get it, this Ahsoka figure is fantastic.
Ooh.
Fantastic sculpt.
Looks good.
I wish I could.
Really good.
Yeah.
It does look good.
Yeah, great figure. If you manage to get it or see it in the wild or online, that's not being scalped.
Man,
grab it.
That's the problem. Austin,
I would say go pick up the new Obi-Wan book.
Oh yeah, that's
Brotherhood. I forgot that was out.
So I've only just started it.
Is this a new writer with him, Mike Chen, or is he?
Yeah, he's only written. I know he submitted he had a story in the one of the
anthology books.
The anthology books. I'm trying to remember what they're called. A certain point of view.
The fables.
Yeah. Oh, certain point of view. Yeah, those. But I think he had a few of those. But I've only read the first couple of chapters, so it's all based around it's like the Clone Wars have begun, where it's right after Episode 2. They've knighted Anakin, so he's become a Jedi Knight, and then Obi-Wan has been risen to Master. And so it's like all that just happened, and then on Cato Nemoidia there was an explosion that took out a bunch of people. It was like basically like a terrorist attack, and that's it. And then it's like the temple's alerted, and that's where I'm at. Cool. So I'm guessing that Obi-Wan and Anakin
that business on Cato Nemoidia, it doesn't count though.
So is this like supposed to fill in that gap? Like, I guess maybe it's supposed to be like the Easter egg, or the explanation of that little piece of history that's mentioned as a joke.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know yet. I guess we'll see. That's the thing is, I'm sure I bet it's coming though, because it looks like they're going to Cato Nemoidia.
Yeah.
So I don't think
this book doesn't even count in canon.
Yeah, because I remember Labyrinth of Evil had their own explanation for, which is funny. Was it some spores made Obi-Wan drunk?
Yeah, pretty much. Which was leading right up. I mean, it's like right before Episode 3, leading up to it. But he's on there. He's like deflecting all these lasers, but he's like probably just half tipsy the whole time, like
drunken lightsaber dodging.
I would love to see that, because I bet his hair was in his eyes like this. So he's probably like just flip like.
Hello there. Hello there.
He's just like, hey, Anakin. Annie. He probably just Annie. No, I think he falls into Annie's arms, don't he? Like, doesn't he fall right into Anakin's arms when he gets there?
Or in front of him.
I think he does. I think he pretty much like collapses into his arms like right afterwards or something.
Does anyone else taste metal in their mouth? I taste copper.
But I can't wait to dig into it though, because like so far it's an interesting read. So
cool. Awesome. Well, fun recommendation.
Okay, cool. Well, I recommend going to scalp some Star Wars Celebration tickets. We won't be there, but enjoy it. It'll be great.
Be safe.
Yeah, be safe. Have a good 2 weeks. In the meantime, join us for That Toy Life next week, when we talk about toys. All the awesome toys that we get and that have been revealed around the internet.
They don't want to hear about that. They want to hear about Star Wars.
And mostly Star Wars here. So Until next time, may the force be with you.
And also,
Peace.
let us pray.